luisteren naar zijn voordracht en kijken naar zijn films. Ira Cohen. Ruigoord. De kunstenaarsgemeenschap in het Afrika-havengebied. Een kerk, wat huizen en voor de rest een zandvlakte. We gingen met de Amerikaanse dichter, filmmaker, performanceartiest en fotograaf Ira Cohen. U heeft van de week onder andere een aantal optredens van hem gezien en de film Kumbamela. We gingen met hem naar de vlakte van Ruigoord. Daar waar het zandjuweel werd gehouden. Het zandjuweel omdat de vlakte van Ruigoord helemaal leeg is. Kaalgeslagen, want de Afrika-haven moet er komen. Ira Cohen op een heel winderige dag op weg naar de Toren van Babel. Een project van Popke Bakker. Een bouwsel van kratten, van hout, van resthout. Popke Bakker heeft er een heel bouwsel van gemaakt en dat moet dit jaar nog groeien. En op de dag van het millennium, dus het nieuwjaar van het jaar 2000, gaat dat in vlammen op. Een groot feest, een groot millenniumfeest op de vlakte van Ruigoord. Maar nu staat het er nog. Een beetje winderig, want het was gisteren behoorlijk winderig, regenachtig. En Ira Cohen op weg dus naar de Toren van Babel. En de vliegtuigen boven Ruigoord, want dat is de aanvliegroute met dit soort weer. Ira Cohen, altijd fotograferend, in een wel heel, bijna bizarre ansenering daar in Ruigoord. Dat gebouw van pallets, allerlei andere bouwsels die er al tijdens het zandjuweel stonden. Maar dit staat nog overeind en blijft ook overeind staan en mag ook overeind blijven staan. Maar het gaat wel in de fik op het millenniumpunt. Betreden op eigen risico, want wat hier gebouwd is een soort fort, een soort kasteel, een toren van Babel. Een symbool ook. Een symbool van verbroedering en misschien een symbool van het feit dat we elkaar nog steeds in de wereld niet gevonden hebben. Want dat was die oorspronkelijke toren van Babel ook. Rijken naar de goden, rijken naar de hemel. En God zei op een gegeven moment, dat gaat te ver. En hij sloeg ze met de verwarring van de taal, van de verschillende talen. Dat is het verhaal van de toren van Babel. En de toren van Babel van Ruigoord moet misschien op een andere manier dat verhaal weer omdraaien. Terugbrengen tot werkelijk met elkaar communiceren. Ira Cohen klimt naar boven. En dan in die toren een hele gemeenschap. Een groep mensen die daar langer of korter verblijft, daar woont. Het is bijna een Shakespeareaanse theatersituatie.
I can see the future from here. What can spring up in this area? There's something beautiful about to come. What is it, 98 days to the millennium? Asher Pasha Vinir Mukta, freed from the fetters of hope. I wish that for all of you. Got that when I said that? I'm saying that message is important. Asher Pasha Vinir Mukta means freed from the fetters of hope. If you sing that every morning when you wake up, your whole life will change.
No hope. Why no hope?
No, just freed from the fetters of hope. Freed from the chains of hope. But it doesn't say there's no hope.
Okay.
We can't live without hope, but we're freed from the chains of hope. Love is beautiful, but you can be chained by love also. Well, you can be freed by love, I think. So, I'm looking for a good camera angle, just to take the perfect still photograph.
You going?
I think so. Yeah, we're going.
Thanks again. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, see you again.
Yeah, we have to get to church on time. That's the song, get me to the church on time. Yeah, this is a church too.
Yeah, church come here.
So these are eggs, you know? This is, we're egg worshippers here. At least I am an egg worshiper, not an ego worshiper, an egg worshiper. And in this perfect shape, everything will come from this shape. I'm going to leave one of these eggs here. We'll bury it someplace in the Tower of Babel. Maybe it will hatch, even though it's hard-boiled. Things may be running backwards after the next millennium. You know what I mean? Maybe the whole film is going to be running backwards to the prehistoric golden time, to the Paleolithic golden age. You know, some people think the Paleolithic is the golden age. People didn't have to work and food fell off trees. Animals came to you to be eaten. You know that. Okay, so I want to read a few lines here saying this. I'm going to eat the millennium, fill my head with African gold, look at tectonic maps of Venus, check out the hotspots. I'm not speaking well. I'll try it again. I'm going to eat the millennium, fill my head with African gold, look at tectonic maps of Venus, check out the hotspots, clean the mirror, say hello to another night, sleeping on sharp corners. I'll turn the pages of the giraffe book with my eyes closed and wear the giraffe hat for the big audition when the next dawn finally arrives. There goes sugar walking around, but nothing is free except you and me. You have to be crazy to expect any more. Time is what keeps the light from reaching us. That's my message for the day. He's looking at you. Okay, he's looking at you again. So we're going to bury one egg here, okay? So this part of it to give the power. Don't mention it.
I give you a better one.
Yes.
Wissel!
Thank you. Het is een beetje plat gestampt op de grondkant. Many people have been walking around it already.
It's okay.
It's really
As long as we have a little
harsh.
room.
Here we go. You're gonna stop for the egg.
Relax. Alert.
I think that could. You think that's deep enough? He's doing a good job.
And control.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Hey, first we put it to the third eye. We say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Okay. Shanti, I hope this egg will bring good fortune and grow into some future possibility.
It's the dilemma.
After this
Eggs
place.
or the chicken.
Yeah.
This is
Not
kind of
which
dilemma,
comes, no, no.
Jaja.
Which comes
When you
first,
get
you
it,
mean?
so who comes first? Who comes first, the eggs or the chicken? If you answer me with this, you can do kind of ceremony. You put in the ground,
Yeah.
you can bounce
Okay.
off the eggs.
Actually, the chicken comes first.
Okay then.
The answer may grow in the
Now
ground.
it's dilemma
you know.
circle. Who
It
born
may grow
first,
in the
chicken
ground, the answer. I
or
think.
eggs? This was dilemma.
It's not a dilemma, it's just a
Yeah.
beautiful mystery.
Okay then.
Long live the mystery. Oh, this is a nice coverlet. It's a nice blanket, huh? Whoops. Okay.
Harry down.
Okay, thank you. You did a great job. Look, I want to thank you very much. Yes. I see in your eyes the new millennium already is arising. Good, good. What's your name? Femke. Oh, what a nice name. My name is Ira. Yeah, we can do that. We don't want someone to trip on it.
No, because it's nice and cute.
Amsterdam means a lot to me. Holland means a lot to me because I spent a few years here in Holland living in cracked houses and doing all the things that all of you have done. Broje van Koje experiences at 3 and 4 in the morning. And maybe I'll even find some poems I wrote when I was here. I don't know where to begin, but okay, here's something, it's not really a poem. Gerard Malanga, a poet friend of mine, was asking me in an interview, his first question was a real easy one. He said, "Where does poetry come from?" So I said, I knew you were going to ask me questions like that, especially early in the day, where does poetry come from? Then he said again, so then I went on, I gave this answer. If I can find it, I'll say you don't have to tell you everything about Cocteau and Orpheus and taking angelic dictation over a car radio and stuff like that. And then I mentioned how you become a medium and it passes through you. So other times you do it, okay, it's a struggle. Then I say, I once read a book about the Kalahari Bushmen by Lawrence van der Post. I guess he's a Dutchman, right? He's what? English?
It's a Dutch name, but I think the guy's English.
Really? Okay. That's why he writes so well. So that's why you can read him in English. You know, a lot of things in Dutch should really be translated into English. Like all the books of Simon and Hans, for example. But somehow I hope that will happen before this next millennium is over. So I once read a book about the Kalahari Bushmen by Lawrence van der Post. Can you imagine living your whole life wandering as nomads led only by flashes of lightning. Thinking about this, I wrote in my notebook the other day, wherever lightning flashes, water is sure to be found. I guess you can say the same thing about poetry. Okay, here's a New York poem. It's dedicated to Lakshmi and Andre, two children. It's called Bright Penny Meditation, and it's subtitled Frankenstein in the Park. Sitting with Mr. Baum, taking the November sun in Central Park, our backs against the slanted windows of the Metropolitan Museum, where smart sunbathers come and sit out of sight behind the gently sloping knoll, not so far from where Jennifer Levin was strangled by that shitheel. This is a famous murder case in New York in the last years. White West Highland terriers look out in a perfect triangle like temple dogs in China or Nepal. You wouldn't ever know that the cancer is slowly spreading, that a few cans of tuna are not enough to save the day. We don't know where the girl is. She was an artist who tried to kill herself, put a gun in her mouth, and blew away both of her eyes, she too surviving to this day. You'd never know that even the sun will not shine forever. Can we take consolation in some distant sun or star, some parallel universe which just is in its own way, not better or worse? A play with or without an audience still plays while we lay our snares. The other day, Karen called to ask me Frankenstein's first name. She had a bet, and then I said, Victor. But today I thought, Timothy, Alfred, Gregory, Andre Frankenstein indeed, Ira, Raphael, Lakshmi, Faye, even David Frankenstein. And then I began to laugh inside. And when the laughter subsided, I saw the joke and the power of the name and what power it holds over all that cries, that lives or dies inside. I am what I am, Popeye said, and in this man, perhaps for a moment, touches God. Everyone assumes that Frankenstein is the name of the monster, but there is no monster, only the myth of a maker who no longer exists. Here's a little poem for Jimi Hendrix, which I wrote on the 10th anniversary of Life and Death Paradiso, September 18th, 1980. I'm just skipping around. I have a lot of poems here, but it seems to make sense to read it to you. It's called Immortal Idol. I photographed Jimmy in Mylar, and this is partly a description of the time that he came to my loft and other thoughts on the 10th anniversary, I guess, of his death, in fact, I don't know. Or no, his life, maybe it was his birthday. When you put on your coat and started down the stairs, how I thought, no, he can't leave like that. Then you turned the mirror's corner, walking into cool drifts of absolute reverie. O poet of the averted glance and the steel string, seeking your own image in the butterfly wing of sleep. An empty airplane falls in flames, and you, game for any fling, rise above the living by virtue of your sound, which is everlasting. Of all the dead singers, you are the most alive, and after all these years, you are still running in the gold, Jimmy. You were a prince of sadness and bowed your head to her who loved something more than you. Yet she followed too, as all follow your lead. Amen. Well, I mean, Junk was the her that he followed, and actually Junk followed him to death as well, in the person of Devon, who was his big girlfriend of that time, who could take even more than he did. Okay, here's a poem I wrote in Ireland. Summer solstice in Ireland. Here in the psychic playground where it's the wedding day of the world, every man a bell ringer, and we will go to Slane for the summer solstice, where we will sit on the banks of the Boyne, where the waters confer poetic inspiration. We sit around the fire, dreaming at the heart of the blaze, discover the flare and the fall of time. Walk home along the river, stopping in awe to look at the chimerical forms of mist rising off the water, as if in a Japanese movie under the origami umbrella of the night sky. The hill of Tara, the harp of Ireland, the brooch on the breast of the day. There's music in these stones, and we mean to release it. We stood in the ring of the fairy fort in the spangled light. If you plow us under, it will cost you at least your left eye. Gareth Brown, elfin prince of Dublin town, celebrates his birthday wearing his colors of forest green and framboise. We're on the road to Kerry now, and Gordon is dreaming of a new color, born of an electrical vibration, tuned to an unborn star. We pass the breasts of the goddess Danu, nippling the horizon. We'll get our feet wet, walk along the beach, try to remember the color of Charlotte's hair. 10 miles from Killarney, we'll soon be there. Crawling through the ruined castles and broken towers, we perch like jackdaws on the tufted corners, looking over the landscape, where every field has its own name, and the crystal illumination is defined by the sunlight. From the Kerry coast, we see the Skelligs covered in mist, the Celtic sunwheel on the gravestone, the book of moving statues, the stone of destiny shrieking, "It is he, it is he." The narrow tracks in the grass lead somewhere, making me loath to leave. Everyone loves to tease in Ireland, you said. And now as the sleepers lie, I see the breeze teasing yellow flowers on the hill. Not enough time to be here, but still we see the sheet pass by. It is we who are the leaves whirling on the air. Song to nothing. And surely we will die without memory, coming to cold in the shadow of space. And if it isn't too late for the star to love you, spraying the sky with whispers, attuned to galaxies hungry for flame. And if the tongue of night sings of albino winos till the morning light shafts the doorway, then surely we will die tonight, faceless at the white gate, sharing the smoke with ancient shapes in future garb. And you stand somewhere there on the other side, feeding on the pain of dreamlessness, where from the misty morning of white shadows and the unresisting need to destroy. Samael, Samael, I beg it may be forgiven, that they may be driven out of the black into the white. Only let the dazzle remain, for gamblers to surprise, the strategic diamond, the throne of compressed bone in the unsure dark, where only light can forgive, and your mind is signed. Embers of echoes in the vastness disguise the yearning to burn blind eyes in arrogant displays of feeling. Running wild, these beasts will feast on the newborn kind, for surely we will die tonight unless we learn to ignore what the others live for on the other side of morning. And the skin of nothing left by the same summer masks the faceless wanderer. Oh, let it happen, this weird to discover the shape of beauty in everything extreme. For surely we will die tonight, whether we will or whether we dream. Oh, Samael, forgive the dreamer, forgive the dream. The song of nothing is your lullaby. You know, I was the first gastarbeiter who came to Holland. I don't know if you know that. I came up from Morocco. I met Simon. He helped me get this magazine, Gnawa, published here. But I arrived in a Silem. Now you see jalabas, Silems everywhere, but people were all freaking out. Simon wrote a book about it in his book Liefde. And then I also actually did the hashish cookbook, from which some of you may remember Fox, that red-haired, delightful German chef who started the space cake concession at the Melkweg, was also a result of the hashish cookbook, you know, I created. I'm going to go and ask for royalties on the tourist trade. I should get 10 cents from every, every gram of good white widow that's sold in coffee shops. Okay. Then let's see, where can we go? Imagine Jean Cocteau in the lobby holding a torch. Imagine a trained dog act, a rock and roll band. Imagine I am Curly of the Three Stooges, disguised as William Shakespeare. Imagine that I am the cousin of the mayor of New York, or the king of Nepal. I didn't say Napoleon. Imagine what it is like to be in the glare of hot lights when you are longing for dark corners. Imagine the Ghost Patrol, the tribal orchestra. Imagine an elephant playing a harmonica, or someone weighing out bones on the edge of the desert in Afghanistan. Imagine that these poems are recorded moments of temporary sanity. Imagine that the clock was just turned back or forwards 100 years instead of an hour. Let us pretend that we have no place to go, that we are here in the cosmic hotel, that our bags are packed, and that we have 1 hour to checkout time. Imagine whatever you will, but know that it is not imagination, but experience which makes poetry, and that behind every image, behind every word, there is something I am trying to tell you, something that really happened. This is a millennial poem here. I wrote it a few years ago, but I'm always preparing in advance. I write poems for people even before they die, you know. I was balanced in the foundry and wanted to be made. I was found in the balance and made wanting. I have been bound to the valence and wanting weighed. In the time of change, we will become even more strange. Coconut economics. You know, I lived in India for a long time. Is that going on up there? Hello. This is Amritanand Giri. He was 86 years old. Now he's gone. That was in 1986. So, of course, Indians lie a lot about their age. They like to say they're 112, you know, because it makes a good impression, especially when you see them running around and making love to your girlfriend. Coconut economics. Coconut economics. Don't say thanks to the old campaigner. Let him fall on his retainer. One of the great secrets I learned in India, the secret of spiritual economics, in a nutshell, you might say, at the entrance to the temple, which is someone sits selling a coconut. This is a good idea for Ruigoord in the front of the church. People are coming, probably tourists, to see the church and everything. Well, no, I'm saying a coconut. You'll see my idea here. Someone sits selling a coconut which is bought by the pilgrim and offered to the presiding deity. Then, even before the pilgrim is gone, that coconut is returned to the temple gate, where it is sold again. This is the story of how one coconut, never opened, can support a temple for 1,000 years. Meanwhile, today, world leaders of the 7 most powerful industrial economies are doing their utmost to bring global trade negotiations to a successful conclusion by the end of the century. And the only thing being shared is the blame. See New York Times, November 7th, 92, for fortune cookies going east to China, where they are still unknown. This is called an economic beachhead in a land of more than 1 billion cookie-eating people. But where's the temple? But you see what a great idea that is. I mean, the coconut probably from the time Rama probably gave them the coconut. They say, you just keep selling this coconut at this temple, you'll never have anything to worry about. Okay, this is a poem I wrote in New York not so long ago. The day after Jerome Robbins died, I sit on a bench on a Broadway island between lanes of bleeping traffic, thinking of the significance of O.J.'s mansion razed to the ground. An old black lady with a cane, wearing an elegant straw hat, makes it across the street to catch the number 60 bus, the one I love to take for 75 cents, which goes all the way to LaGuardia Airport. I read in the paper that an old friend, Peter Dennison, and his son Morgan, 11 years old, were killed crossing the street by an empty bus. They were holding hands. In my own heart, love dies a little and urges me to keep jaywalking if such steadfastness could so tempt blind fate. Talking to Andy on the telephone, I say, if you really love me, why would you want to go to the Sahara, where we could be buried in all that sand? The starlight, you say, but I'd rather go to the beach and be touched by blue water. I'm thinking Atlantis, and she says Madagascar. Definitely at the top of my dream list. You know, Madagascar is considered to be ancient Lemuria, and there are still lemurs singing in the trees. We agree to go there. We will record the lemurs, their love calls, and all the rest of their chatter, add theremins, and make a CD. I'd love to sample Lemuria before the clock runs out. I'm going to eat the millennium, filling my head with African gold. Look at tectonic maps of Venus. Check out the hotspots. Clean the mirror. Say hello to another night, sleeping on sharp corners. I'll turn the pages of the giraffe book with my eyes closed and wear the giraffe hat for the big audition when the next dawn finally arrives. There goes sugar walking around, but nothing is free except you and me. You have to be crazy to expect any more. Time is what keeps the light from reaching us. Okay, this is a poem called An Act of Jeopardy for Garcia Lorca. When someone brought me a book of Lorca's poetry in Kathmandu in that year, whatever it was, I realized all of a sudden that Lorca died at the same age that I was when the book was given to me, something like 36 or 37, and that if he had lived, you know, my span, then he would have been about 72, so that means 36, 60, 72, 73, 74, somewhere in that time. And I thought, well, he could be a very groovy guy walking around, writing still new poems in his early 70s, still alive instead of being shot by the fascist police and all of that. So I felt when I was reading the poem that I wanted to, I said it was an act of jeopardy because I thought somewhere that I was going to take this to the point that this poem that I would write would be written as if it were by him still alive in some way, although it's actually written more to him and for him. An act of jeopardy for Garcia Lorca. A star of blood, you fell from the point of the hypodermic, singing of fabulous beasts and spitting out the sex of vowels. Your poems explode in the mouth like torrents of sperm on a night full of zebras and boot heels. Your ghost still cruises the riverfronts of midnight assignations in a world of dead sailors carrying armfuls of flowers in search of your unmarked grave. Your body no sanctuary for bees. Death was your lover in a rain of broken obelisks and rotting orchids. In the tangled rose of a single heartbeat, I offer you the shadow of a double profile, two heads held together at the bridge of the nose by a nail of opium smoke in the long nights, dreaming, and a memory of water poured between glasses. In my mailbox, I find a letter from a dead man and know that for every shadow given, one is taken away. Yet subtraction is only a special form of addition and implies a world of hidden intentions below a horizon of lips, thin as your fingernail, sprouting mysteries in the earth. The ace of spades dealt from the bottom of the deck severs the hand which retrieves it, and the eyes of beauty, sewn together, peer over a black lace fan in the vulgar sunlight of a Spanish morning without horses. The belt of Orion is loosened before you as you remove the silver finger stalls from your mummy hands and kneel to plunder the night sky in a shower of bitter diamonds. Somewhere, under a blanket, someone weeps for a lover. Peace to your soul and to your empty shoes in the dark closets of kings with no feet.
Ira, you've been in Amsterdam how many years ago?
I don't know, Simon was saying 64 is when I first came.
And when was the last time you were in Amsterdam?
I don't know, somewhere maybe a year ago for a very brief moment.
Have you seen changes over that time?
It's very hard for me to gauge the changes. Every place changes, but I would say that the essential spirit that I know is still there. Maybe it's not acknowledged as supreme as it was in the heyday of the Melkweg. I didn't go to the Melkweg or Paradiso. Cosmos is no longer there. There are other places. There's always a place where poets assemble and read their work in a very convivial and communal way, that feels like a kind of a society and of warmth.
Yeah, but it's thing like you would have expected to say certain brands, certain types of computer poetry would spring up. That
and you say they haven't.
Well, but have you seen it?
I don't know. I mean, everybody is looking for a new handle to seem new when in fact it's the same old song.
But like 5 years ago, 8 years ago, people like Jaron Lanier were talking about cyberspace, about virtual reality experiences as the ultimate poetic experience that would kind of condense the experience to now moment. You even made poetry about that. But it didn't materialize.
I think it's difficult. I mean, I don't think the computer is the natural form for poetry or art, but it can be used, and the fascination with the possibilities are there. But you still need information, real information, to put into a computer to make something work. So, I mean, I think that if I were trying to work with a computer, I would probably try things that are different. I would have a sense of how to make an arcane dictionary, so that words that have a certain magic would fall like snowflakes into poems. I mean, with a greater possibility. I mean, because I worked with the cut-up, that was in a way a similar idea. I mean, you can feed certain things in, so you have to feed in certain things.
Yeah, but there's the old saying in the computer world: rubbish in, rubbish out.
What's that mean?
When you put rubbish in.
Oh, rubbish in, rubbish out. Yeah, okay, but no, still, it's hard to get. I don't know what you can do with computers. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Has it personally influenced your life?
No, for me it doesn't really, because it only pushes me further back to wanting to make a drawing with a pencil tied to my left wrist. You know what I mean? In other words, the more primitive. I mean, it makes me want to be more primitive, if anything. I'm not an artist who works like a painter or a draftsman, so I don't have that problem. I was already taking photographs in bendable mirrors, which you're going to see in a few minutes, which now when people see them, they think, oh, is that done on a computer? I say no.
It's now called a ripple effect in Photoshop or something like that.
But I don't know that ripple effect can do exactly the same thing, although nothing would surprise me. I mean, if I go to a place like Madame Tussauds in the Dam, have you been there?
Yeah.
It's a good show, isn't it? I mean, anyway, I got jealous when I saw Simon in a photograph with Rembrandt. I said, you're not that old, Simon. No, he told me. Yeah, I said, how did you get that photo? So he said, it could have been a computer thing, of course, But anyway, it was because he stood next to this wax Rembrandt in the museum and had his photograph taken, and I like to take photographs in those situations, so I went to see the show. Yeah. But they have some good moving things that seem like real people, and you could almost be fooled. But as I said, the inflatable plastic woman will never do it for me.
But still, there's a lot of virtuality around, you know, where we try to make the experience at a distance, telesex. We use the phone and stuff.
Yeah, all of that stuff. But I mean, I'm just not personally interested in it myself. Maybe some people will really get off on it, and maybe it'll get so refined that you wouldn't know the difference. And then I think, either that's great or we're in very serious trouble. Last thing I must say, you remember, that Amsterdam is known as Mokum from supposedly some Jewish word, makom, a good place. Yeah. Mokum, hokum. We love to smoke 'em. And makom, it is a good place still. And I think it will be into the next millennium, the magic center that it always has been.
Thank you.
And thank you. You're a sweetheart. So now you know that I am a not-so-secret egg worshiper. I first came to Holland in 1964 when I entered Simon's Liefde. It's great to be here where it is so cool in the day and so hot at night. Thanks to Luc Sala and Hans Plomp, Catherine, and Grażyna too, and to the memory of Bert Skierbeck and Johnny the Self-Kicker. Imagine Jean Cocteau in the lobby holding a torch. Imagine a trained dog act, a rock and roll band. Imagine I am Curly of the Three Stooges, disguised as William Shakespeare. Imagine that I am the cousin of the mayor of New York, or the king of Nepal. I didn't say Napoleon. Imagine what it is like to be in the glare of hot lights when you are longing for dark corners. Imagine the Ghost Patrol, the tribal orchestra. Imagine an elephant playing a harmonica, or someone weighing out bones on the edge of the desert in Afghanistan. Imagine that these poems are recorded moments of temporary sanity. Imagine that the clock was just turned back or forwards 100 years instead of an hour. Let us pretend that we have no place to go, that we are here in the Cosmic Hotel, that our bags are packed, and that we have 1 hour to checkout time. Imagine whatever you will, but know that it is not imagination, but experience which makes poetry, and that behind every image, behind every word, there is something I am trying to tell you, something that really happened. Insomnia on Duke Ellington Boulevard. July 14th, breakfast with myself at the Olympia Diner, 106th Street and Broadway. Fell asleep around 4 a.m. with the TV on. Van Heflin and Barbara Stanwyck enter my disturbed sleep. Sometimes the only way out is to die, but happily someone else escapes, takes to the road, goes on traveling. I'm up at 7, go to the post office, send 2 Cuban alligators to Brussels, then read Gabriel's column in Newsday about the real meaning of the closet. Feel nauseous, order a hard-boiled egg, which comes without a shell, mashed in a cup. Is my heart too yearning for its dying hour? Please bring me 1 order of cool snow. If I could remember just a fraction of what I said on the telephone, if he could take his clothes off and sit on the banks of the Ganga, if she could see the profile of Caliban in the smoke over the oil fields, if we could just take off and go to Madagascar, if they would stop killing each other and wake up tomorrow morning with a new vision, I would stick my head in a printing press and you could read tomorrow's paper today. Extra, extra, read all about it. Poets' brains prove to be useful. P.S. Sometimes when I pick up my pen, it leaks gold all over the tablecloth.
So it's lovely to see such a beautiful and intimate group finally assembling at this hour. And I don't know how many poems you'd like to hear me read, but I'll keep reading until someone tells me to stop. And Aya, you can be the one to decide, okay? Yeah, why not? I don't mean it wouldn't be bad if you told me to stop after a few poems. But I don't know, I could tire you all out if I have enough poems with me. I left a lot of them back in my room because I had too many. So I'm going to just start here with this one book, Media Shamans, which I share with Angus MacLeish, my great fellow dervish friend who died in 1979 in Kathmandu, and Gerard Malanga. And it has become harder to find the inner heart's true face. To feign real grace is not possible. When the song is your only salvation, it's time to sing. It's tunes like this the season brings, when suddenly winter turns to spring. See how they walk, the women from Rajasthan, looking for gold powder on new road. Everything they own balanced so neatly on their heads. This is called Himalayan Reflections. Actually, it's a small suite of poems, and I'm going to read them all together. They were written in Kathmandu. Speaking the language, we did what we felt and touched the lips of the oracle after the sacrificial blood was washed away by rain. Adorned with towers and the freedom to pass back and forth like a knife blade which dips at the end of the beast's signature, the hand in shadow reveals the spirit calling, "It is here, it is here." O master of the untaken path and the unbroken stick, shriveling the water's reflection, we are summoned by the void. The equivocal existence of shaved skin appears in a curtained mirror, and the angle of the pharaoh's erection contains the secret of the pyramid. What is it but the mystery of the leaf which no one looks at, singing a song to itself? We see the earthworm moving across the sand. They call it writing a letter to mankind. A moth caresses my cheek, perhaps it is you, or the old piece of string which also sings a song. It was on the day of the crow. The skeletons danced in ecstasy, throwing off the last bits of flesh clinging to the bones. The day of union turning to the day of the dog. Long live the crow, let it fly ungarlanded. The high priestess has returned, pending the day's brutalities. The writing appears in the swinging jewel. Breaking open the mountain, it lies before us. The untasted metal, the glittering prow. She tells the jewel what to do and connects the hanging dial to the utter experience. You listen then to the astral voice which speaks within you, so cold in the inhuman space, and try to pin down clouds with pencils. Can you? Here is the wolf. Follow him. He will show you the way. Hear the wind play the flute. See the wind playing on the silver pages of your notebook. Far from day, from night, out of time, out of sight, in between. That is where we are today. The children's orchestra come trooping over the high hill, under the hanging trees, with black pods rattling. Kiss my brain then, if that will please you. Both sun and moon in the sky at once proclaim the mystery of my hand, stretching to candle your thighs in the tip of night, flying with the blood which bows in the wind, and our shadows looming conquer the rice fields at the approach of dusk. The day the master lost his artificial limb, you cut your foot, black rose, bloody kata. What a pleasure to be hunted in the galaxies for nothing. What a pleasure to be discarded by the galaxies for nothing. What a pleasure to let the fire burn down by itself. Death concealed himself in a curl and watched the galaxies spring from the cheap zircon on his finger. The commercial aspects of death have little to do with the price of knuckle bones in Kathmandu. We do our own gilding. And on this afternoon, sunlight falling on green grass, this day between the days of pearls melted with fire, and the dragging image growing thorns, I invoke webbed thoughts, extra-fingered hands reaching for your fan of black feathers spread in the darkness of rich blood pounding at the temple door. In return, oh, grant me the silence of your extra finger gliding over waiting lips. The poem again is yours. I need not speak of the karmic fly, he who helps God in his work, carrying diseases from one place to another. Walking into the center of the rose, it signifies the corruption which is always at work. The death's head appearing in the flowers of another spring. The Indian Baba speaks of the fly's purpose, and I ask, which does the fly prefer, merd or sukh? All is the same, proclaims the karmic fly, as his wings were in the restless afternoon, already beheaded. This is a poem called The Torment of Al-Halaj. It takes a derivation from, this is taken from, Al-Halaj was a great Sufi mystic. He died for saying, for many things, I suppose, but especially and technically for saying Ana al-Haq, which means I am the truth. And this was considered heretical, and he was found guilty by his peers of other Sufi saints, even Shebli, who used to stand under a tree, you know, every night flapping his arms saying, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." Even Shebli threw a clod of earth at him. Of course, hoo is like an owl, and it's kind of amusing to think of that, but who in Arabic means he, and he is only one, which is Allah. As a young man, you fell into darkness and emptiness. Your spirit filled itself with colors of the teaching. You drank from your well and sank in the flood of drunkenness, your hands begrimed with ink and dust. And I saw you squatting here in the ashes of your ardor, your silence of spider webs, your crown of cactus. You who slaughtered your camel for your neighbor, you knocked at my door like the singer already asleep. And the strings which were breaking, from where does this come to me? And you sought to unveil yourself in this presence, and where does it stop? Then you are an end in the beginning. We meet each other again on the judgment day. Don't break the seal of the word of the wind over the water. Don't touch the nipples of the beloved, these of the wild goat. Then the interior of the thing is outside you. From where does that come to me? Yet think what you will, and your fire in the waste of eternity danced up and was extinguished. And I see you here full of fear, imploring, fallen on the light altar, silent, you spoke with the evening. This is a poem written after Arnaud Daniel, whom Dante cited as one of the great poets, a Provençal poet. And it's in 3 parts. It goes like this. In the aura of Mara, the false broil braised clear air, where doubts of spite are foiled. It is far, beaks from zealous branches to mute lips, the same and not the same, why enforce from far and near, pleasures at my hands do lie, and turn below the time which dies, she will fans, will not me somber. And so clear my first light was sliding, lying on the cruel course of hills, not pressed by hands of agencies, from another it comes, rare, most you pray me, but I sport a dazed and flying. Both worlds are gray from being so far without me, that to serve a sigh, I fell out of my head into a coma. As if by merely falling, one could betray the calling, hiding from the heart what it knows from lip ease, or by going higher to reach the very source of fire, walking, talking, stalking, going beyond what we aspire. It is a kind of spiritual striptease. So make with courtesy what the heart remits. All seers lie with lordship, but not poor poets who another wait, nor is it strong, this so-called soma. Song to nothing. And surely we will die without memory, coming to cold in the shadow of space. And if it isn't too late for the star to love you, spraying the sky with whispers attuned to galaxies hungry for flame. And if the tongue of night sings of albino winos till the morning light shafts the doorway, then surely we will die tonight, faceless at the white gate, sharing the smoke with ancient shapes in future garb. And you stand somewhere there on the other side, feeding on the pain of dreamlessness, where from the misty morning of white shadows and the unresisting need to destroy, Samael, Samael, I beg it may be forgiven, that they may be driven out of the black into the white. Only let the dazzle remain for gamblers to surprise, the strategic diamond, the throne of compressed bone in the unsure dark where only light can forgive and your mind is signed. Embers of echoes in the vastness disguise the yearning to burn blind eyes in arrogant displays of feeling. Running wild, these beasts will feast on the newborn kind, for surely we will die tonight unless we learn to ignore what the others live for on the other side of morning. And the skin of nothing left by the same summer masks the faceless wanderer. Oh, let it happen, this weird to discover the shape of beauty in everything extreme. For surely we will die tonight, whether we will or whether we dream. Oh, Samael, forgive the dreamer, forgive the dream. The song of nothing is your lullaby. Okay. Here's a little poem I wrote when I came back to New York after being in India and Nepal for many years. It's called Beaver Street. There's an irony in that title. There is a street in New York called Beaver Street, but that is sort of suggestive of something else in English. Now that I'm back in New York after 7 years, should I write a poem about Dr. Savannah and the last Bogart cancer rattle? Should I read it with more vibrato now that the past is dissolving into the lap of the future and New York is really sinking like Atlantis, like Babylon? Where Alexander's token Brahmin died to show the great how it feels inside, how it feels to return before the eclipse, to be lectured by catamites on the nature of pride, to know the lot of Lot and the salt she lied. When I read my poem in front of Washington